So when I grab a camera, then everything kind of shifts within me, and I become more attentive towards that object of desire, which is in front of me, of the camera that I'm holding, whether it's a whatever camera might be, or just even an iPhone.
I wouldn't know how to explain it per se, because I wouldn't have it as profound as you, but you kind of everybody's eyes at the same time, looking at that.
Yes, and in an ideal world, the way that I've often talked about, you whatever is being manifested in front of you, it's in that space in between. Everything happens within that space, you know. So I'm attentive, and as much as I possibly can, of course. And in general, I'm always in awe with what's in front of me. People say like, "Oh my God, the models! Have you had experiences with models in one way or another?" And I often say there were no bad experiences ever. You see, so that's kind of the way that I've always worked my photography, and the way that I've worked my 30 years of experience in front of the camera.
One thing you said that really hits me, and if I heard you correctly, is when there's a space in front of you, and you really are totally present in what's happening there versus just a fleeting look at something, and as a result, you're able to really treasure and cherish the moment, whatever it is, be it a horse, a flower, a person.
Yes, you see, I'm not the type of photographer to take a camera and just go and take pictures. I've never done that. That is not what I do. What I do, often a bit of research. I decide on why I'm photographing certain things. I attempt to understand what those things are, but not too much, because if you understand everything about them, then you're no longer surprised by them.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that I have to be present to what's happening, and to be able to be in the now when those things happen in front of me. So the wild horses of Sable Island, I never photographed horses before, or did I, or does it matter? Models could have been wild horses. A storm can be wild horses. Blades of grass can be wild horses.
And that's kind of what I was referring to. Each experience, each is an experience in their own way, and you have an opportunity of sharing that experience with others by what you do.
Yeah. So what I was saying in the end was that you have to make a decision. If I walk on the beach, you see, I love rocks. So if I make a decision today, I'm going to pick shiny rocks, but only the ones that are silver, then all of a sudden the field thins down to that object of desire. And my focus, I will ignore many other things that are beautiful because I'm in search of something. So I think that's what happens with photography and in general. I mean, once the search has been established and determined, then it's a lot easier to concentrate on those objects of desire and to be more attentive to them.
So that gives me a good segue. I'm going to change the tide here a little bit, if you will, and gives me a good segue into the focus. And we're excited, first of all, on our partnership, working together on food security, and specifically the 100 billion meal challenge, which
that's quite a number.
Yeah, it's a big number, man. 100 billion, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and again, changing the tide. So why is this important to you? Number one, and share the story of the beautiful art that you created and the impact on, to use your words, what matters that you see happening from this.
Sure. Because of the gallery that I've had in the city for so many years, 25 years in Soho, it's a long time for anything, for a matter of fact. To have a gallery for that long, it's kind of fortunate. And because of that gallery, I've met so many different people, and because of meeting so many different people in the giving world, I'm going to call it, I was able to actually host a lot of the events, and I listen a lot to the needs of the world in various ways. Now, I had to make a decision at one point: what do you give to, what do you support, and why? So I support art projects, I support kids, I built a kindergarten in Indonesia with Petra Nankova, All Happy Hearts Fund. I was part of several different organizations raising money for kids through art and art experiences. I did a lot of things with Outrageous, where I encouraged a lot of kids to come in and annotate all the borders around my work. So I like to get other people involved in what I do, for them to contribute onto what my photography is, and for that to raise money for other organizations. Mm-hmm. Now, when it comes down to this latest endeavor, food security, it's very simple. I mean, I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that my grandparents have, they were fortunate, they were well off. My grandfather had his own chauffeur. I mean, well, I think it was an old Range Rover. He had his chauffeur for 50 years. His name was Ganju. I still remember him, funny enough. And every Saturday he would come home, or Friday, and this particular Jeep was filled with things, filled. And they lived in a small town, in a small village with one road going towards the mountain that was a dead end, with one river and gigantic valleys. And some people were all off, but some people were not. And I witnessed the Friday, Saturday, Sunday trend, where everybody would come by and ask, can I have that? Can I have this? Can you do that? Can you? So I've witnessed the giving. You have, you bring, you give to those people that have less than you. Many of those people would come and pick the apples and the plums, and we had like a gigantic backyard, a farm where we cultivate all kinds of things. So there was an exchange. It was not just about giving. It's interesting, when you support, other people are more willing to jump in and support you when you need them. Right. Even if you have a lot of money, you cannot do everything with that money if you don't have people around you. Right. So just because you have money, you cannot, it doesn't matter anyway. You still have to have the people around you for that exchange to actually happen. So I witnessed that exchange. Then I witnessed it from my parents, and I witnessed it over and over again when other people, we came to the country and we didn't have anything, and they would give us things. Mm-hmm. So back in Canada, I mean, a family of five with $0 in your pocket, it's not easy. Yeah, it's not easy at all. And yet, we still laughed and we talked and we told jokes, and we're very happy. So giving, I'm part of giving and receiving, as we all are, actually. Mm-hmm. So when this 100 billion meals challenge came about, and of course Tony Robbins, I have his first cassettes and his first DVD, and I have most of his books, and I was always encouraged and in awe with his energy and his ability. So since I've always wanted to improve myself and become a better person, a better citizen of the world, I've attempted as much as possible to read as much as I could. I have 10,000 books, and I read many of them because of that sense of curiosity. So that's also giving. And it's not just about food security in the end. You give what you have. And as I've said the other night with Paula Abdul, I said, in the end, sometimes you don't have money or you don't have a piece of bread, but you can give a smile to somebody, or you can give a handshake, you can give a hug, you can give a kiss. You can do so many different things. So the art of giving is not just in one direction.
Yep.
What it comes down to is once you start giving, there's a reaction to it, and it's a feel-good reaction, and all of a sudden you want to do more of it. So this gallery helped me get in touch with all kinds of organizations and charitable organizations. I was able to be part of who they are, to be able to receive and to give at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So when this challenge came about, I was in the midst of doing this 12-foot image called Storm for a very dear friend of mine, Cynthia Hart, who collects my art, and I'm happy to have her as a friend. And for some reason, which I cannot explain, you have to remember that I don't shoot digital, and all my images come from film. Even now, many years later, I still use film whenever I travel and whatever I shoot, except for my iPhone, of course. For some reason, we had to digitize this particular negative, and a 12-foot image in one single piece is not easy to do. Nobody can explain why, but the UV printer decided to reverse the image. It just did it on its own, as if AI kind of intervened, knowing on what was going to happen next. And it happened at the same time as our conversations have happened. And when I was at the lab and I saw the tide reversed, I thought that reversing the tide is such a perfect image, and it's right there in front of you. I actually imagine this gigantic storm as was happening on Sable Island, going back to just dead calm.
Mm-hmm.
So the visual for me was evident. The words came out of nowhere, reversing the tide. And as I said the other day in the conversation, now that I'm part of the advisory board for this organization, I said, reversing the tide can actually be utilized in various ways in 2022 and 2023, where pretty much everyone that wants to contribute towards this organization can actually receive a card, a poster, or something else. So in the end, everybody wins, The image, we were at the Genesis House in Soho. You were there, and many people showed up. And I encourage everybody to actually put their names around the borders. I'm fascinated by philosophy, and I like philosophy for various reasons, because it encourages me to live fully, consciously, and presently, and to be appreciative of all the gifts. So when reversing the tide showed up, the first thought that came to mind was what I live by in terms of photography, which says, thus the task is not so much to see what no one else has seen, but to, you see, now I just forgot it. So thus the task is not so much to see what no one else has seen, but to think what no one else has thought about that which everyone sees. And that was Schopenhauer.
Mm-hmm.
And as a photographer, that single line out of the many lines in the world is very close to my heart, because the idea is, I understand what it means. You can look at an egg, and some people see an omelet, some people see the white shell, and other people see something else. So I have a program, for a matter of fact, through my foundation, which is called How to Crack an Egg Through Photography. And I go to schools and I encourage kids to kind of look at simple things with different eyes. So the program is, I take my iPhone, I plug in a projector, I can take something as simple as a cup, and I show them on how I actually study that cup and how I take a picture of it and I can transform it into art. Then they take their not sometimes iPhones or iPads, and they experiment for about 15 minutes. And then the last 15 minutes, we actually project what everybody else has done. And I can tell you one thing, that young children are very, very fast learners. And on most occasions, they come up with better images than I do. And that's encouraging. And that's encouraging because, you know, it shows the potential of everyone, you know, to be great.
I think it's and then I have one last quick question for this, but like we say in LA, we got to leave them wanting more so we can do a sequel, you know. One thing you said that fascinated me there, among many things, is that there's a lesson there that it's great that we all see things from different perspectives in different ways, and that's the whole greatness about diversity as well, and we should embrace that rather than argue about it, basically.
And then going back to Schopenhauer, but to think what no one else has thought about that which everyone sees. I think that's the key,
Right.
basically, to everything.
No, it's beautiful. So let me
Because once you understand that, it took me a while to kind of even, what does it really mean? And how does it function again? And
No, it's a
what
brilliant-
goes first? So, but if you get that all of a sudden you can look at things and you see the same thing, but you think about it in a different way, then all of a sudden you can solve all kinds of issues, you can solve all kinds of problems. And in the conversation that just came up with Joel and Tony and everybody else, I mean, we were just talking about food security, right? So what was my thought about food security, which I know nothing about other than just what I just explained, was you have to get somebody from the food industry involved. And everybody thought, yeah, that's a great idea. And so I reach out to one of my friends, Carl Zwanelli, who happens to be I'm going to call him the Dawn of the Pasta Association Global. And what did he do? He engaged everyone on a global scale to commit 1 billion meals. You see, that happened because of a single thought about that which everyone sees, which is what? Pasta.
Yeah, no, it's all brilliant. And in fact, he was amazing. He surprised me. He called me from Italy just to say it was great meeting you.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Just
and other great things will happen because of that particular conversation and because of this particular thoughts, you know. I think, is it possible to get to 100 billion meals? Without a doubt. It's a question, you have to get a lot of bright minds and to think about how you get there in many different ways.
And we will. And so that leads me to the last question on this, and then we will have to do a sequel, apparently, is in brief way, I'll tell you this. A client told me in 2021, he said, you know, Mark, the year 2020 has flown by slowly, he told me. And I said, well, that's an interesting way of putting it. And then the next few years flew by fast, actually, 2021 and 2022. With all that's happened from the pandemic on and all sorts of things some Mother Nature has thrown at us, can you briefly say what you're most grateful for as well as what you're most hopeful for?
Well, without a doubt, I'm grateful to have 2 extraordinary kids, for them to be healthy and well and to have a great family. I'm grateful to be living by the ocean, to be able to be in the water every day. And I'm grateful and thankful and present to the gift that this world is offering to us. I'm actually grateful to be sometimes alone in the ocean in the late evenings and to actually acknowledge this incredible planet that we live on.
It is.
And by being grateful, you know, I feel that maybe some of that will spill out into the rest of the world, and everybody can actually get to the point where they understand that we just have only one planet, And we have to do everything in our power to take care of this extraordinary place, which is given to us as a gift.
Here, here.
And Buckminster Fuller says something quite extraordinary. We are astronauts traveling through space at incredible speeds on this single planet rocket called Spaceship Earth. And I encourage everybody to actually read his book, Manual to Spaceship Earth. I think it's the best book that I've ever written, and perhaps the most important book that anybody can read about the past, present, and the future of our planet and who we are as astronauts. And my comment is that if you understand that you're an astronaut on this incredible rocket traveling through space, and you find a bolt and a nut on somewhere on the rocket ship, you don't just pick it up and throw it out because you think that it's not important anymore. It got there for a reason, right? So therefore, it has its own reason of existence. So to that note, wilderness, I feel that it's very important. My organization, IamWild.org, supports some of those thoughts and comments that I just explained. And I find that by realizing that you're part of this wilderness itself, you are no longer going to pat yourself on your shoulders when you're putting money towards the elephants, tigers, and dolphins, and whatever it might be. But you realize that you're part of the same system. And when you're part of the same system, all of a sudden you're taking care of your own self indirectly. So if you're taking care of your own self, your own kids, and your own family, how great is that you're taking care of the system that indirectly takes care of you?
You know, I compare a lot of that to a sports league where the teams are competing as strongly and willfully as they can to beat the other team and win the championship. But they all are aware that they're part of a league, and unless the league is valuable, the championship won't be valuable and whatnot. So Earth is the league. We're all in this league, and you can still compete. You can still be kind. You can still do all that, and it works out best for everybody. So the other last part of that is, so what are you most hopeful for?
Well, I'm hopeful that everybody is going to listen to what we have said just now.
We're a little hopeful.
What I'm hopeful for, I'm hopeful that realization that everything matters will manifest in everybody's front yard, in front of their own vision. So we will no longer need to explain on why things have to be done in one way or another, but everybody will indirectly talk to everyone else and have the same conversation that everything around us matters. And that's what I'm hopeful for. I'm hopeful that the world as a single organism, as complex as it is and diverse, can come together in this extraordinary time to take care of our planet and to understand that the gifts that the planet is actually giving us are all around us. And we have to take the time and smell the roses and look at the sun and be grateful for what's around. So I'm hopeful that that realization comes to be on a larger scale, more and more every single day. So our children, your children and mine and everybody else's will have a planet that they can actually enjoy as much as we have enjoyed ours so far. So that's what I'm hopeful that this next journey will bring to us all.
Yeah, well said. And could have said it better myself. And so thanks for sharing all that. Thanks for being a leader who cares, like for real, and for being a new friend, which I also appreciate much. And we look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, I'm going to say only one more thing, and that's an encouragement for everyone else, is to remember that if I am wild, then so are you. and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. So realize that you're wild, and you're like, realize that you're this part of this incredible wilderness that we call planet Earth. So peace to all. Thank you.
Peace, man.
Okay, bye-bye.